Just 360 miles south of Japan, tank loads of U.S. Marines advance against a desperate enemy.
You know, it seems that every time a country goes to war, there will be soldiers in an army that don't want to fight. Now, whether it's for political or moral or religious reasons, they say, forget it, I'm not going. Now, sometimes they're not even soldiers before they decide not to go. The classic example is Vietnam, a long and brutal war. Anti-war protests divided the country, and many young men refused to sign up. The most famous of all of them was Muhammad Ali, and the government made his life hell for doing so. But most were just ordinary Americans who became known as draft dodgers. About 100,000 of them left the United States. Many came to Canada, and our government welcomed them as landed immigrants.
If you're dodging the draft, you're not even asked about it, and you are admitted at the Canadian border.
But what about American deserters, the ones who had joined the Army and then left? Well, that's always a tricky one.
And our policy as to deserters is not as clear as that regarding draft evaders.
40 years later, the line is still blurred. These days, the Americans don't have a draft, but the war in Iraq, you know, has been compared to the war in Vietnam. Brutal, long, and also not going so well. And dozens of U.S. soldiers have deserted and come to Canada claiming refugee status. But here's the key question. Do U.S. Army deserters qualify as refugees? If they're deported, will they face persecution or torture or death? One of those deserters is Jeremey Hinzman. Now, he joined the U.S. Army in early 2001, but fled in 2004 to avoid fighting in Iraq because, in Jeremy's view, it's an illegal and an immoral war.
My life isn't that significant, but it's also not so worthless as to be killed or to go kill innocent people.
In March 2005, Canada's Immigration Refugee Board rejected his claim. Hinzman appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, but the High Court refused to hear his case. Now, Hinzman, his wife, and 2 kids are being deported. Please say hello to Jeremey Hinzman. Good to see you again, man. Welcome back to the show. God, man, you were on our show so many years ago, several seasons ago. You've been here for 5 years now.
Nearly 5 years, in January.
Did you ever imagine it would be this long? Did you think you'd be here forever?
Well, we were hoping to be here forever, but it's not looking that way now.
So it's Tuesday night. You've got about a week.
Yeah.
And then you go back.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like when their vacation ends, but they don't face what you have to face. What's going through your head right now?
Just logistical things, you know, like what do we pack, what do we leave? But we just had a baby in July, so a lot of things are like getting Megan to bed or making lunch for Liam.
Your baby's Canadian.
She is. So maybe when she's 18, she can move back and sponsor us.
I think when you first made your way to Canada, you had a young son, and now he's a little bit older, 6 years old now?
Yeah, he was 1 at the time when we came here.
I suppose you didn't have to have the kinds of conversations with him then that you have to have now.
No, I don't. Like we have to explain to him, you know, that Dad might go away for a while, and but there's been a fair amount of support since we've been up here, and there'll be like posters downtown saying "Stop the deportations" or something, and he recognizes them and he knows why we're here. Are
you comfortable with the position you're in? I mean, you're in this country. When people talk about, you know, American soldiers who are here, who are conscientious objectors, you're the guy that they talk about now.
Well, I'd rather not be that person, but that's what's come of it over the time that we've been here, and I think I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak out against the war.
The reality you face is not fun. You know, do you expect that you're going to be picked up and arrested and sent to jail from there?
Well, I'll be court-martialed, and then I'll be given a sentence, I assume, between 1 and 3 years.
And so you don't think you'll get more than 3 years? So lawyers are sitting there working you through what you're about to face?
No, I don't know really what's going to happen when we get back. I just know that I'll be turned over to my command, and then they'll probably convene a court-martial, and then I'll be given some sort of sentence after a hearing.
When you think about 1 to 3 years in jail, what do you think?
I hope I could get books to read. And then you also think in terms of the military, like making big rocks into small rocks or something like that.
Does the prospect of jail scare you?
No, I'd rather go to jail than kill innocent people.
And that's a big thing for you, right? Is it that you don't believe in this war in Iraq?
Right, no, it was totally illegal. It wasn't sanctioned by the UN Security Council. It was based on false pretenses. There were no weapons of mass destruction. There was no link to Al-Qaeda. And the notion that we wanted to bring democracy to Iraq was farcical.
Yeah, you know when you say that, people can agree with you, but you also know that people hear you say that, and why did you sign up to the Army in the first place?
I was a bit naive, but also I had a sense of adventure. And
hiking, Jeremy. You go to why the Army, though?
I don't know. You know, exercising, getting paid for it, jumping out of airplanes, shooting rockets that could only be shot once and then disposed of that are $10,000. I mean, it's all very exciting until you start to think about the bigger picture. And when I was in basic training, we would do things like march around yelling, train to kill, kill we will, or ooh, ah, I want to kill somebody, ooh, ah, I want to kill somebody now. And just being constantly subjected to that, I for whatever reason, I couldn't become a killer. Because the military doesn't recruit people with mental difficulties. They recruit sane people, and most sane people have an inherent predisposition against the taking a human life. And you have to really break down those barriers in order to make a killer, and I wasn't able to do that.
Was that a surprise for you? Did you think you were going to be the guy? Did you think you can go and be a good soldier?
I did when I initially enlisted. And I was a good soldier for the time that I was in. I made it through the ranks. I was about to go to Ranger School, which is a survival school. Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry, and call me a coward, but I just don't want to kill other people. But I applied for conscientious objector status to remain in the Army.
And they conveniently lost your application, didn't they?
They lost it or threw it away or whatever. And I would have been happy being a combat medic, being in my same platoon, as long as I don't have to shoot other people. If I die, I'm not going to know the difference. But if I kill somebody, I have to live with that for the rest of my life.
It's a complicated position for you to be in, because you know that there are people out there, especially guys in your platoon, mm-hmm. who look at you and go, when they look at your act or your decision to be in Canada rather than be in Iraq as an affront to them. And you hear people criticize you all the time, saying that you disrespect other American soldiers who are there. Do you feel that? Do you feel any sense of responsibility on that level?
Well, you always have a real bond of fidelity with the people. I mean, they say you forget about politics when you're in the foxhole, and it's the guy to the left and your right. And when I became a conscientious objector, or at least applied for it, I found out who my true friends were, and it was the people in my squad and the people in my platoon who knew what I was about. And I don't think they would be affronted that I'm here, and I feel bad for them that they had to go fight this meaningless war.
Do you, you hear so much about the American state as a military culture. It's everywhere, right? Especially these days. Everything is about the troops. Everything is about the war. It is a military culture. They talk about the proud history. Do you get the sense that the people who are promoting the military culture, the citizens, have a real understanding of what the military culture is and a real understanding of what is going on in Iraq?
Maybe some do, but I mean, there's a real military-industrial complex in America, and the people who are promoting it have the most to profit from it. I mean, it may sound crass, but invading Iraq is subsidizing our thirst for oil to drive our big cars, and I just don't think that's worth taking life or losing life over.
Are you disappointed in Canada? I mean, the Supreme Court in this country refused to hear your case, so this made it, as far as it could go, and they refused to hear your case, and the government clearly is in a position where they have to obey laws. Are you disappointed in this country?
No, I always look at Canada fondly. We've really enjoyed our time here. I'd like to emphasize that in June, the Canadian Parliament passed a motion saying that war resistors, or deserters, if you want to call it that, should be able to stay in Canada. All the opposition parties voted for it, and the Conservatives voted against it. Mm-hmm. So that was the will of Parliament speaking, and the Conservative government isn't adhering to it.
Are you going to come back to Canada when you're out of jail?
I don't know if I'll be able to, because I think if you're given a dishonorable or bad conduct discharge, you're a felon. So it may be inadmissible. So.
You've got in once before. You could probably sneak in now. Right?
Yeah, we could go hiking.
You go hiking, that's right. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming in,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
All right, Jeremey Hinzman, everybody. Stick around. LeBron James is coming up. Plus, we'll give you this.